And I'm talking about a living legend, because you ask any golf professional, whether you're in Australia or whether you're in your U.S. or whether you're in Great Britain, and you say, that's the Canadian guy that hits it so damn good, isn't it? And I says, that's him. We're going to go play here, and don't be afraid. There is no telling. I think he would have won the U.S. Open. I think he would have won all the tournaments around the world.
Lee Trevino just brutally exposed 7 golfers he believes should simply stay home. This is not just opinion. This is a man who lived through the hardest era of professional golf, delivering judgment on players who, in his view, have betrayed everything the game stands for. Right now, if you respect old-school golf wisdom and Trevino's no-nonsense honesty, hit the hype button and show your support. Let's break down why the Merry Mex thinks these 7 modern players have forfeited their right to walk inside the ropes. Lee Trevino was born in a 3-room shack with no plumbing in Garland, Texas. His grandfather was a gravedigger. Trevino did not arrive at golf through country club gates. He arrived through sweat, desperation, and the high-stakes hustle of trying to survive. In his era, there were no guaranteed contracts, no signing bonuses, no comfortable pension plans. You ate what you killed. Missed the cut, you went hungry. Make the cut, you had another chance to feed your family. This is the lens through which Trevino views modern golf, and it is unforgiving. When Trevino says a player should stay home, he is not talking about geography. His wife once told him that when the fans stop asking for autographs, he should simply stay home. For Trevino, leaving your house to compete is a binary choice. You are either fully present, grinding for the win, respecting the history of the game, or you are absent. There is no middle ground. There is no being a passenger. The stay-home verdict means a player has become so disconnected from what golf should be that they should stop occupying space in a sport that deserves their soul. Trevino views the history of golf as unbroken. From the days of hardened leather balls to the titanium age, the constant was struggle. Real struggle, the kind you cannot buy your way out of. Hogan had it, Nicklaus had it, Trevino had it, but the modern guard has found shortcuts, and Trevino is calling them out for it. Phil Mickelson is the golfer that bothers Trevino most, not because of anger, but because of sadness. Trevino recognizes in Mickelson a creative genius, a people's champion, a man whose hands could perform magic with a golf club. They are kindred spirits in that way. But Mickelson had something Trevino could never achieve. In 2021, at age 50, Mickelson won the PGA Championship at Kiawah Island. He became the oldest major champion in golf history. That victory should have been his capstone. It should have turned him into the game's beloved elder statesman, the role Arnold Palmer held. Instead, Mickelson traded that priceless cultural capital for a signing bonus from LIV Golf. Trevino has stated explicitly that Mickelson had a legacy to protect that money could not buy, but he sold it anyway. The sadness Trevino references is rooted in irreversibility. Mickelson cannot go back. The adoration of the fans that sustained both Trevino and Mickelson has been curdled by controversy. For a player who thrived on the roar of the gallery, playing in the relative silence of LIV Golf is a cruel fate. But there is more to Trevino's critique. Mickelson finished second at the U.S. Open a record 6 times. His haunting loss came at Winged Foot in 2006, where a pair on the final hole would have given him the championship. Trevino understands the sharp competitiveness needed to win that event. It demands patience, precision, and a willingness to suffer through 4 rounds of relentless difficulty. By moving to LIV Golf with its no-cut formats and shortened tournaments, Mickelson has voluntarily dulled the edge necessary to ever capture that elusive U.S. Open. Trevino famously said he would stay home if he did not think he could win. He views Mickelson's continued pursuit of majors while playing on a tour that does not prepare him for them as a vanity project. You cannot chase ghosts you have already allowed to escape. Bryson DeChambeau represents an existential threat to golf in Trevino's view. Trevino is arguably the greatest shot shaper in history. He could work the ball through wind and rain using nothing but his hands. DeChambeau's approach is the complete opposite. It is science-heavy and rooted in data. Trevino learned by hitting thousands of balls off hard-to-pan dirt in Texas. He learned the ball reacts differently based on lie, wind, and moisture. DeChambeau attempts to quantify every variable through air density and geometric analysis. Trevino believes the artist will always win. In a major championship, the mind cannot process complex algorithms under pressure. The body must rely on feel. DeChambeau bulked up to over 240 pounds chasing ball speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. and in doing so lost the repeatable motion that made him successful in 2017 and 2018. Trevino's philosophy is that accuracy and repeatability trump raw power over 72 holes. Trevino also critiques DeChambeau's single-length irons. Every club in Trevino's bag had distinct personality. His 7-iron reacted differently than his 4-iron. DeChambeau uses irons all the length of a 7-iron, homogenizing the swing. To Trevino, this is an admission of inability to master the nuances of equipment. It is an attempt to hack the game rather than master it. If you need to reinvent the equipment to play golf, you should not be playing golf at all. You should be in a laboratory. Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka shifted Trevino's critique from philosophical to practical. Their defection to LIV Golf confirmed Trevino's suspicion that they were satisfied with enough. The PGA Tour was an open market. You earned what you deserved through performance. LIV Golf, with its guaranteed contracts and no-cut events, removes the entire incentive structure. If you want to play fewer rounds for more money, you are essentially admitting you are semi-retired. Trevino likely views Dustin Johnson as a player who could have reached 30-plus PGA Tour wins. Instead, he accepted $150 million to leave. Brooks Koepka built his brand on caring only about majors. He famously dismissed regular PGA Tour events, treating them as practice rounds. Trevino, who ground out victories in tournaments like the Greater Greensboro Open and the Canadian Open, finds this attitude fundamentally disrespectful to the sport. Koepka claimed you could simply show up for majors and be sharp. Trevino disagrees completely with this approach. The grind of regular tour events is what keeps the competitive blade sharp and ready. Without that weekly pressure, a player loses the edge that made them dominant and hungry. Trevino predicted that the sails are going to break on that ship regarding the LIV golf experiment. He believes the model is fundamentally unsustainable because it relies on money rather than competitive soul. For players like Johnson and Koepka, who followed the money, when the ship collapses, they will be stranded. Too old to return to PGA Tour domination, too rich to care about legacy. Trevino often tells stories about playing for diaper money. The pressure of needing a birdie to pay the rent is what forged his greatness. Johnson and Koepka received guaranteed contracts worth $100 million or more, regardless of how they performed. You cannot manufacture pressure once the money is already secure in the bank. The biological imperative to win dissolves completely when security is assured. Trevino views these players as having stayed home the moment the check cleared, even if they are standing on a golf course. They are no longer truly competing in the way champions should. They are simply performing and collecting checks. The hunger is completely gone from their hearts. Patrick Reed represents something different to Trevino. This is not a philosophical critique. This is a character attack rooted in moral principle. Trevino grew up as a hustler, playing for cash in games where you might not get paid if you won and might get beaten up if you cheated. For Trevino, hustling is honorable only if it is honest and above board. Patrick Reed's reputation for rules controversies places him in a category Trevino cannot and will not tolerate. At the Hero World Challenge, Reed was caught on camera improving his lie by brushing sand away with his practice swings. He claimed it was accidental or blamed camera angles for the misleading perception. At Torrey Pines, there was an embedded ball incident that stirred similar controversy. In high-stakes money games from Trevino's youth, improving a lie was theft. It was not just a two-stroke penalty. It was a character flaw that would get you run out of town permanently. Trevino views golf as a game of self-policing, rooted in honor and tradition. The beauty of the sport is that it relies on the collective belief that every player is trying to win fairly and with integrity. If you cannot be trusted to police yourself and uphold the code, you cannot be trusted to play at the highest level. Trevino was a character in the truest sense. He talked, he joked, he hustled his opponents. But he was beloved because he was transparent and honest about who he was. Patrick Reed is viewed as aloof or controversial and hard to connect with. He seems to relish the role of villain, wearing the dislike of fans as armor rather than learning from it. Trevino noted that Reed is his own worst problem. Instead of laying low and letting things pass, he instigated the crowd. Trevino believes in humility and owning your mistakes with grace. Reed's defiance makes him a pariah in Trevino's eyes. Trevino's advice would be crystal clear. If you cannot play by the rules that everyone else follows, stay home. The game does not need you. Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood represent a different kind of failure. These are aging European veterans and Ryder Cup legends who sold their mythology for one final paycheck. Trevino has hinted that veteran players chasing late career paydays in Saudi-backed leagues are essentially admitting their competitive days at the highest level are over. If Westwood or Poulter believed they could still win majors, they would have stayed to fight. Taking guaranteed money is an admission of decline. They are staying home in the sense that they have retired from true meritocracy. Trevino understands the need to make money. He does not begrudge a man a paycheck, but he begrudges the pretense. He would respect them more if they admitted openly that they are too old to beat Scottie Scheffler, so they are taking the cash. Instead, they frame it as growing the game, which Trevino views as disingenuous. Westwood and Poulter were defined by the Ryder Cup. Trevino was a multiple Ryder Cup player and captain. He understands the sanctity of that team room. By joining LA Golf, they jeopardized their eligibility and created legal battles with the DP World Tour. They placed personal profit over the institution that made them legends. Poulter was known as the Postman because he always delivered in Ryder Cup matches. By effectively banning himself from the event, he destroyed his own mythology. Trevino views this as short-sighted. They sold their legacy for a few years of easy money, alienating the European fan base that worshipped them. Trevino's verdict is clear. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot destroy the ecosystem of the European Tour and then expect to be celebrated as its heroes. By choosing LIV, they chose to exile themselves. They should stay home rather than try to force their way back into a room they set on fire. When viewed in totality, the stay-home critique is not just a series of attacks on individual players. It is a diagnosis of sickness in professional golf. Trevino was the ultimate blue-collar champion. He represented accessibility. The players he critiques represent either the country club elite or the corporate mercenary. The shift Trevino identifies as the gentrification of professional golf's soul. When players are insulated by $100 million contracts, they lose touch with the fans. The stay-home critique is a warning that if players become too rich to care, the fans will eventually stay home too. Trevino fears the sport is splitting into two incompatible histories. There is the real history, the continuous line from old Tom Morris to Bobby Jones to Ben Hogan to Jack Nicklaus to Tiger Woods. This line is defined by majors won, cuts made, and Vardon trophies earned. Then there is the manufactured history, the LIV era, where records do not align, formats differ with 54 holes and shotgun starts, and money drives the narrative. When Trevino says Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka stepped out of real history, he means their statistics are now orphaned. A win on LIV does not carry the historical weight of a win at Riviera or Colonial. They have voluntarily erased themselves from the conversation Trevino cherishes. They are playing exhibition golf. In the grand scheme of history, that is the same as staying home. Trevino's critique of DeChambeau extends to golf courses themselves. If science and distance prevail, classic courses like Marion, where Trevino won the 1971 U.S. Open, become completely obsolete and irrelevant. Trevino's defense of shot shaping is actually a fundamental defense of golf courses and their integrity. He wants players to play the course as designed, not overpower it with raw power. If players will not play the course as designed, Trevino suggests they go play a simulator at home. Effectively, stay home. Lee Trevino's brutally honest assessment of these 7 golfers serves as a eulogy for a specific era of professional golf. It was an era defined by financial insecurity driving performance, mechanical artistry driving entertainment, and unspoken honor codes driving integrity. By telling these players to stay home, Trevino is not engaging in petty insults. He is enforcing a moral and competitive standard that defines excellence. These players chose comfort over competition and hunger. They chose money over legacy. They chose shortcuts over struggle. In Trevino's world, that is completely disqualifying and unforgivable. You do not step out of the arena when things get hard and then claim membership in a fraternity of champions. Champions stay in the fight every single day. They fight through every tournament, every cut line, every missed major. If you want to bypass the difficulty with science, bypass financial risk with guarantees, or bypass the rules with creative interpretation, you are no longer playing the same game Trevino played. You are playing a simulation of golf. The Merry Mex suggests the most honorable thing you can do is close the door, sit on the couch, and stay home. The arena belongs to those willing to bleed for it. For everyone else, there is only the exhibition game.